Hello there everybody, I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm making this video to check in, let you know I'm still around, and to update you on not only another precognitive dream that I've had recently, but one that I had years ago that I've completely forgotten about. All of them are very inconsequential. They don't really mean a lot in the grand scheme of things, they're just weird. Very weird how things played out. I apologise first and foremost for not having any video to this. My camera's experiencing problems at the moment. I'm hoping to get a new one at some time soon. I just don't know when it's going to be. Still trying to find a decent camera model that's not going to cost me my right arm, so we'll have to see how it turns out. But anyway, I've touched on precognition before. Mentioned a couple of dreams that I'd had in relation to video games that were odd, and the likeliness of them just being coincidences was very unlikely. And the first one of these dreams that I was going to mention today follows exactly the same sort of pattern. It is from a video game, and it was from a video game, and it is a very unlikely thing to just happen as coincidence. So basically, in the last few months, I've been heavily playing an online MMORPG called Warframe. It's a free-to-play game, and in this particular game, there is an enemy that you'll face numerous times called the Stalker. Now, the Stalker appears when you've defeated certain bosses. When you get back from the mission, you'll get back to your ship, and in your inbox, you'll have an ominous message basically telling you that your actions have consequences. And the Stalker basically appears at random. You could have got that message like 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden you'll just be playing one day, the lights will start to flicker, his creepy voice will turn up basically telling you that he's there to kill you, he's your reckoning, and in the unlikely event that you actually manage to kill him, because most people kind of struggle with it, there's a chance that he could drop a weapon. You know, he's got 4 different weapons. There's a bow, there's a scythe, these kunai type throwing knives, and a sword. 2 weeks ago today, I had this dream before waking up that I was basically walking down a corridor in an area of the game called the Void. The Void's like more or less like a treasure trove. If you get keys to the place and you complete the missions, you get parts for rarer weapons. So I'm walking down this corridor in the dream. There's no enemies around, and then the lights start to flicker. In a puff of smoke, he basically appears, and I just raise my weapon, shoot him, he dies. And when that happens, this bow just materializes out of thin air and travels towards me. And then it just tells me at the bottom of the screen, you have this weapon called Dread. And that's when the dream ends. And when you consider how the other 2 dreams that I had, when I woke up, I initially had a hunch that, maybe this is another one of those dreams. So I got straight out of bed, straight on my computer, straight onto Warframe, logged in, and I went onto one of these Void missions. And the very first mission that I did, about 5 minutes in, what happens? Well, of course, the lights flicker, he appears, and within one shot I was able to take him down. And here's one of the differences between the dream and how it actually played out. When he was defeated, a bow didn't materialise. What looked like a cogwheel materialised and came towards me. And that's because what I actually got from him was a blueprint to build the weapon. And, that's one of the things that you'll notice about these dreams. They're never 100% accurate. They're about 85% accurate, but there's just some minor inconsistencies between reality and the dream. So I thought that was quite a weird thing to share. And, yeah, it's just definitely weird. Especially considering I'd never managed to defeat him before. I've only recently started to get some better weapons, and I just sort of woke up with so much excitement knowing what those other two dreams were like that I decided to test out my hunch again, and for a third time it was right. So the other thing I want to touch on now is the dream that I remembered from a few years ago. I was out and about walking, probably a month or so ago now, and I was just walking this particular route that I usually do, and that's when it hit me that I had previously had another precognitive dream back around 2007, 2008. So in this dream, I'm walking past one of the paths by a local school, like quite close to my house. And in this dream, I was walking alongside some of my old school friends. And as we're walking along, all of a sudden, by this gate, we come across a pile of money on the floor. It's just a random assortment of coins: 1 pence, 2 pence, 5 pence, 10 pence, 50 pence, so on and so forth. And it was like somebody just took a jar of money and just tipped it onto the floor. That's how many coins there were. So I woke up and I thought, that's pretty odd. And for that day, nothing happened. And for the next few days, nothing happened. Until on this one particular day, I had to walk into town. I'm walking past this industrial estate. It's the same field where I've caught EVPs. I caught that possible spirit photograph. There's a path that runs along that field. And as I'm halfway into this path, I just noticed that there's a pile of coins on the floor. Very much the same sort of configuration of what was in that dream. And I thought that was, quite odd, because what's the chances that you dream about a pile of coins on the floor and, you find a very similar thing a few days later? But little did I know, things were actually going to get a little bit more weird, because later that very same day, I was walking my dogs past the same area that I saw in that dream. And as I approached that gate, once again, there's a pile of coins there: 1s, 2s, 5s, 10s and 50s and 20s. The difference, and this is kind of what I've noticed, as I say, with some of these dreams, is that they aren't entirely accurate. The main details will be spot on, very specific, but there's just inconsistencies with the dreams. For example, in the dream I saw old school friends, but in reality I was walking my dogs. So it's kind of like the dream got it right in the sense that I'm with people or creatures that I'm close to. In regards to that other dream, it was like instead of having a bow come towards me, there was a cogwheel come towards me in real life, but the connotations between them were the same. The bow and the cogwheel were the same thing. It's just that the cogwheel is the step before you get the bow. It's just very odd, and I apologise if I've rambled and, stuttered my way to the end of this video, but I don't know, it's just very weird stuff. And here's the thing that I take away from these. When I've noticed that I get these dreams, it's typically about enduring a time where I'm absorbed into something. The first two dreams that I had were about the same video game, which I was very heavily involved in at the time and I was thinking about quite a lot. And then all of a sudden I get these dreams. The one from years ago where I found the money was during a time when I was desperately in need of money, and money was a big focus of mine at the time. And then of course the most recent one with that video game, it's the same kind of thing as the first two. I'm heavily invested in something, and that's where the majority of my focus is going into. And I've noticed whenever I seem to get into that constant state of focus, that's when these dreams tend to happen. So maybe at some point soon I'm going to have to get heavily invested in playing the lottery, and we'll see what happens then, but I don't know. Anyway, I just figured I'd share those with you. I hope I didn't bore you. I hope you're all having a good time, you're all well, and I'll see you soon with some more videos. Thank you.